Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video on how to get into or how to start 35mm black and white photography. This video is going to be for those of you that have got 35mm cameras and want to go to the next step of shooting some film and developing it yourself at home. And it's not really that time consuming, it certainly isn't that expensive to get into. In fact, it's really great fun. So I'll just show you some of the cameras that I've got and what I've picked up along the way. Starting with this SLR here. This is a Chinon CS camera. Is the Pentax Spotmatic. I've done a few videos with this already. Another camera here is the Electro 35. This is by Yashica. Another camera here I've got is a Zenit 3M. I got this from a charity shop. Another camera, this is a pack set rangefinder. And the last camera is this Nikon FX90, which I got for 30 quid. There's lenses as well. This lens here I got for 10 quid in a charity shop. This is a 300mm lens, it's quite sharp. It's an M42 screw fit, so it fits my Pentax and my Chinon. These little 50mm lenses. This is a Hanimex that I've used as well, a 28mm nice wide lens. And another lens that I acquired along the way, 135mm Chinon. You know, even a light meter that I found in another charity shop, which was a couple of quid. And this little light meter works really well. So let's talk about the other side of 35mm photography, which is developing photographs yourself at home. Again, this can be quite daunting for some people because, you know, all the chemicals and the mixing, not quite sure how to do it and blah, blah, blah. Let's show you some of the equipment that you'd need for developing film at home yourself. Okay, so over here I've got the equipment. This is all you'd need to start shooting and developing film yourself. So let's start off with the film. This is a roll of Ilford FP4 125 black and white film. I always shoot 125 or 400 speed films. Now and again I'll shoot a 3200 speed film. But basically what the 125 means is, if you're used to digital cameras and photography, it's basically your ISO speed. So this is a 125 ISO film, which is ideal for outside, daylight, etc. Another film I might use would be the 400 speed film. So if I want to shoot faster shutter speeds outside, or if I want to shoot inside, I can go for the 400 speed film. So that's what the films are about, and there are certain films that do give different looks, but I prefer to use FP4 125 most of the time. So on more modern 35mm cameras such as this Nikon, you've got the ISO settings there. Don't get confused, don't think to yourself that, oh, I'm going to change from ISO 125 to ISO 400. It doesn't work like that. The only reason it's giving you an ISO choice is so that you can dial into the camera what film you're using, so the camera knows that you're using a 125 or 400, and that way the camera's light meter is going to give you the correct exposure for the film that you're using. So don't think to yourself, ISO, I'm going to start changing the ISO during your shoot. It doesn't work like that. And the same with the older cameras as well. You've got your ASA, it's called ASA on these older cameras. You can change it according to whatever film speed you're using. So if we was using 400, I'd set my camera to 400 purposely just to tell the camera that I've got a 400 speed film inside, and that the light meter inside the camera is going to give me the correct exposure for the film I'm using. Loading the film is quite tricky at first, but it gets easier the more you do it. You place the roll into the camera and then feed the film across to the advancing reel, and then you insert the start of the film into the tiny slit on the reel, and then slowly advance the film so it starts to pull tight. And then you want to align the holes on the film so they fit nicely onto the sprocket wheels. And then once that's done and you're happy that the film's inside the camera, just close the back and advance the film until your frame indicator shows frame number 1. Then you're ready to shoot. So let's take the rewind the film back. So pull a little lever there, press the button to release the film, and start rewinding, and you'll hear it click when it goes into the can. There it goes, and that's done. I've rewound the film all the way back inside the canister, and the next stage is to now develop the film. But before I do that, I've got to take the film out and put it into the developing tank. So we've got our film and we've got our camera, and we've now made some photographs. We want to be able to develop those photographs. Let's go on to the next stage. You'll need a developing tank. This is the developing tank here. So this is the film reel, and it goes inside the developing tank. This has to be done in complete darkness, so you'd either use a changing bag. I'll just put a quick description up on the video here of a changing bag. And the idea of this is you load your tank and you load your reel and your film and a pair of scissors all inside the bag, and you put your arms through, and it's all done in the dark, and you can load the film. You can load the film that way, so there's no light is going to hit the film at all. I use my dark room, but that if you haven't got a dark room or a dark room in your house, you can use a changing bag. You feed it through. I'll take the whole film, and that's it. Your film is now sitting on there, goes inside the developing tank. You put your lid on, and that's now ready for your chemicals. Okay, so then you've got your film developer, which develops the film, and then you use your stop bath, which stops the development, and the final part is of the chemicals is using the fixer, which fixes and finalises the film so it's no longer light sensitive, and you can then wash it and start to scan your image. Once it's dry, start scanning your images. And of course, for those chemicals, you'd need 3 jugs. And a thermometer as well, because your chemicals need to be at the right temperature for a good development. Also handy is some pegs for hanging up your film to dry, a bottle opener so you can open the film can, and I use a little syringe here. Some people use containers, millimetre containers, but I use a little syringe to measure my chemicals. And that's it. This is all you'd need to start making film yourself. So it really isn't hard, and it really isn't that time consuming, and if anything, it's great fun, you know, to play around and experiment with your photographs. So earlier on I made a real pig's ear. I tried to do this video earlier, and I made a right mess of it because I put Fomapan 400 inside this inside the Chinon, and I went out and did some shots, come back to show you how to develop. But unfortunately, I kind of had an idea and an inkling that this film developer, which has been sitting in my cupboard for months and months and months, although it runs out next month, it's completely shagged. It didn't work. I kind of had a feeling it might not, but I thought I'd try it anyway. So I went through the whole development process only to find that it didn't work. I'm not sure if this developer is going to work, but I'm going to try it anyway. And we've got all on it. Yeah, the developer's knackered. Welcome to the world of film. So carrying on, moving on swiftly. So I'm going to have to go out just to complete this video and shoot again. This time I'm going to be shooting with FP4, which I've already got loaded inside this Nikon. So what I'm going to do is go outside down to the farm. We're going to take some shots with the FP4. We're going to come back and we're going to develop the film, and this time we're going to get some fantastic results. Okay, so most of you starting out in film photography, you more than likely haven't got a darkroom, so it sort of seems a bit unfair for me to use mine. So I've decided to come into the bathroom and develop this film. So I've got a nice piece of board over the bath for me to work on. I've got my jugs, I've got my developing tank, I've got my chemicals, my camera with the film still loaded inside it. I'm going to be taking it out in a moment, and a little syringe which has got measurements on it. I've got a beer there, and also a couple of jugs down here that are going to save my fixer and stop, because I can use that another time. So let's crack on with what I'm going to be doing. Is taking the FP4 out of this camera. Now I've already used half of this FP4 the other day, so I've only got about another 15 shots inside. I've already taken out half of it and developed that. So I've got about 15 shots left in there that I took down the farm earlier on for this demonstration. I'm just going to go and take the camera, take the tank into another room where it's completely pitch black, put the film inside, and I'll be back. Okay, so I've just come back from my darkroom, and I've got the film now safely light tight inside the developing tank, and this is the remainder of the film there, the FP4, which is now inside there. So we can put that to one side, don't need that anymore. So the first thing I've got to do is to fill my jugs with the water that I'm going to be mixing with my chemicals. And some people use a distilled water. I don't generally use the water out of the tap because it comes out quite hard. What I do is boil the water and leave it for room temperature. Once it gets to room temperature, usually 20 degrees, that's the temperature I'm looking for, and this water is 20 degrees. So, and I've got measurements on my jugs. So I put 400 millilitres into each jug. 400 ml is for 35mm film. So the next thing to do is to mix my chemicals. Like we showed earlier, the photo speed didn't work, so I'm going to be using this Rodinal developer. Okay, so how do we know how to mix the chemicals for the type of film that we're using? So if we look inside the box on the FP4 film, we can see that there's a development chemical chart. So I'll be looking for mine, which is Rodinal. It will be 1 part Rodinal to 25 parts water at 20 degrees, a 125 speed film for 9 minutes. So that's my indication. So I need to mix my Rodinal, 1 part Rodinal to 25 parts of water. So I worked that out. There's 400 millilitres in this jug of water. So it's 400 millilitres divided by 25 gives me 16 millilitres. So that's what we're going to be mixing to. That's 5, 10. So there's my 16 millilitres of Rodinal. It's going to go inside the 400 millilitres of water. Like so. Give it a little mix with your thermometer. That is the first piece of mixing done. That's our film developer. The stop bath is 1 part stop bath to 19 parts water. 5, 10, 15, 20. Give that a mix. Okay, there's my stop bath. Last of all is the fixer. Now the fixer is diluted at 9 parts water to 1 part fixer. So if we do the math again, 400 millilitres of water divided by 9 gives us 44.5 millilitres. Okay, so now our chemicals are mixed, we're ready to start our development process. So for this I'm going to need my timer. We said 9 minutes for the development. So let's put into my timer 9 minutes. And the first thing I've got to do is pour in the developer into the developing tank, and I'll be doing 5 agitations on every minute on the minute. So let's get on with this developer here. In goes the developer, and I'll now start my 9 seconds once it's in, 9 minutes once it's in, and start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Give it a tap when it goes down. You can see my timer there, hopefully. 8 minutes 44 seconds. So I'll be doing that again when it gets to 8 minutes, 7 minutes, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and so on. And your next chemical is the stop bath. So you put that in for 60 seconds or 1 minute, let's just say, on my timer. So just press the timer for 1 minute. And with the stop bath you'll agitate continuously so it stops the development. Okay, now that's done. Now that can be reused. I don't need to throw that away. And the last process is going to be the fixer. Now the fixer I'm going to put in for 5 minutes, and it's going to be the same as the development where I agitate on the minute, every minute. So let's pour the fixer in now. Now we're going to stabilise and fix the film, and after this process we'll be washing. Agitate 5 times, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's been 5 minutes in there. And that's it. That's the development process over. Last thing to do now is wash the film. And you notice the tap, it's not coming out, it's not gushing out, and the temperature is pretty much the same as the chemicals were. And I'll leave that washing now for about 5 minutes, just let it trickle into the tank and overflow, and then finally we'll be on to drying the film. The last thing I do is, I haven't got any wash aid. You can buy wash aid just so that when you dry the film it doesn't get smeared or streaky, but you can also use just a little tiny drop of, it might have been too much, of washing up liquid. And do you know what, it's never failed me before, although I usually use Technol wash aid for my films. And I'll just let that soak in there for another few minutes and that will be done, ready for drying. Shooting film is really good fun, and it's not that expensive to do, and it certainly isn't that time consuming. And I do it myself, and I know my photography friends, we go out and shoot digital, you come back with a few hundred, maybe 400 or 500 pictures, and you'll put them all into Lightroom on Photoshop, start tweaking around. Before you know it, you spend hours sitting there playing around with your images. Shooting film, we're going to go off and shoot 35mm, come back with 36 photographs, you put them in the tank after 20 minutes, you've got your negatives out, and it's up to you what you want to do with them. If you've got a darkroom, go and print. If you haven't, it's easy to scan these negatives. This is an old one, I'm handling it quite rough, but it's easy to scan these negatives, keep them on your hard drive, but then also don't forget you've got the hard copy as well, which hopefully you'll store in kind of binders like this one here. This is one of my 35mm binders. Yeah, as I say, the chemicals, they're not that expensive and they are reusable apart from the developer. And all this stuff is quite easy to find on eBay, charity shops, so it is really good fun to do. So this is a print I made in a darkroom. This is a 35mm print on Ilford FP4, and I shot that using this Pentax Spotmatic. The point of making it, this was a darkroom print, but even if I'd scan the image and printed it on inkjet, it would still look fantastic. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and it's given you a little spur on to go out and shoot and develop your own film. Please like the video and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I will be in the darkroom again soon, I promise, and I'll see you guys later. Thank you.